Today we're going to recreate Manon's sweater, Manon from Katseye. I love Katseye. I saw this sweater on live that she did with Daniela and it just stuck with me. I immediately thought that it will be a very interesting project to make. Of course, this isn't an exact copy, but in my opinion it turned out pretty similar. Please try not to focus too much that I made it with two colors. I just wanted to use my yarn from my stash and I ran out of yarn in the middle of the project, so I had to dye the darker gray yarn to try to match this color. Of course it's not an exact match, but it also was an interesting project. If you're interested, you can check in my TikTok. In this video I'm making this size small, but if you'd like to make it in your size, you can go to my Patreon. I left the size chart there for sizes medium, large and extra large. Just keep in mind that it isn't the exact tested sizes. I just calculated it based on my own gauge. So if you end up using them, I'd really appreciate hearing how they worked out for you. It is a pretty easy project. It's based on increasing and decreasing, and I show and explain how I do it. And it's also a fast project because we use a large hook here and we have only one sleeve. So yeah, let's talk and let's get to the materials. So the materials. I will be using cotton yarn like this, 100 grams per 200 meters, which is usually for 3mm hook. We will be working with a large hook, 8mm. Using a large hook makes the work go faster, keeps the fabric loose and helps save the yarn. I also be using stitch markers for convenience, and if you're a beginner, I definitely recommend to use them too. Let's quickly look at the construction on paper. We are starting with the front panel and crocheting it vertically like that. We will begin with our longest foundation chain here. We need to create a slanted edge here using a simple decreases, which I will show you. Regarding the shoulders, one shoulder will be very thin, only 3 rows in width, and after that, third row, we will start shaping the neckline here. We will do the creases until the middle of the sweater. In my case, it's 13 rows. And after the middle, we will switch to increases. Also for 13th row, the second shoulder will be wider because part of it will go into the sleeve. There will be about 10 rows. The back panel is made exactly like the front panel, except we don't shape the neckline. And the sleeve is just a basic rectangle. So let's get to the crocheting part. I'm taking my yarn and chaining a T. When you made it, you can try it on now. Hold the chain against your shoulder where the seam will be and see how long it is. If you want it to be longer or maybe shorter, adjust the number of chains right now. When the chain is ready for the first row, I make one turning chain and work regular single crochets all the way across the chain. As I reach the end, I immediately do the first decrease. I work into the second to last stitch and leave the very last stitch unworked. Now, I don't make a turning chain here. I turn the work. The entire sweater uses one pattern, single crochets into the front loop only. And we inserting the hook under the front loop of the stitch and work a single crochet and start the second row in the second stitch from the hook. This way we decreased 2 stitches already. Work a row like that to the end. At the end of the second row, I work the last stitch through both loops without a decrease. Make a turning chain and move to row 3. I'm reaching the end of the third row and I have 3 stitches left. We leave the last 2 stitches unworked and we work into the third stitch from the end as if it were the last one. So we go through both loops. Then we turn the work without a turning chain and start in the second stitch from the hook. This also decreases 1 more stitch. So this way we will be doing decreases through almost the whole panel. We continue these sharp decreases until row 25 in my case. You can always try it on and stop with the decreasing at any moment you like, or maybe go to the smoother decreases, so adjust this moment so the length of the sweater is comfortable for you. And I am marking the last stitch of row 3 here, marking it with a marker to see where attach it when we will sew it all together. I'm at the end of row 4, and now in row 4 we start the neckline decreases. I work into the second to last stitch through both loops and turn without a turning chain. Start a new row into the second stitch from the hook. And now we continue like that, making small decreases on the neckline and a little sharper decreases on the edge here. I will work like that to the 16th row. Meet you there. So I'm on row 16. I've worked into the second to last stitch here too. I'll mark this last stitch. At this point I should have 43 stitches here. Now I need to work 13 rows while making increases for the neckline to mirror the first half. How will we do decreases? I make 2 chains at the end of every even row here on the neckline, turn the work and start the new row, row 17, in the second chain from the hook. I will work like that, making increases and continuing with the decreases to the row 28. At row 25, I felt that it's time for me to stop doing these sharp decreases on the bottom, on the free edge, so I switched to smoother decreases, the ones I did on the neckline, only 1 stitch instead of 2 in the uneven rows, so I work into the second to last stitch as the last one and continue as before. Make no turning chain and start a new row into the second stitch from the hook. So I'm at the row 28. I work the last stitch and chain 3. This is the final and largest increase. The same as before, start the row to the second stitch from the hook. Now on the top part, I stop doing decreases, just crochet as usual here. And I will work 5 rows like that, just straight on the neckline and continuing with the decreases on the bottom. On the row 33rd, I stopped making decreases on the bottom edge and now we just grow this section straight. And now I'm on the row 39 and I'm finishing. I worked the last stitch, so I'll just cut the yarn and pull through to secure it. Our front panel is done. Now make back panel exactly the same way, but as I mentioned, we don't crochet the neckline, the shoulder line will be just straight. We don't do any decreases here. The bottom edge is completely the same. Just repeat everything that you've done on the front panel with this free edge. The sleeves. Actually, we have only 1 sleeve and it is very simple. It's just a rectangle. I've chained 54, just worked the piece without any decreases or increases, and I've just crocheted 44 rows in width. And now I'm going to make an edging to make it easier to sew the pieces together. I make 2 chains here and insert the hook as close to the edge as possible into every row. So if I have 44 rows, I should end up with 44 or maybe with 45. It's okay to have 1 more or 1 less. And I need to make a row of single crochets like that. And now when we have all our pieces, we can finally join them all together. Let's start with the front and back panels. I lay them like that on top of each other. On the thin strap of the front panel we have 3 rows. It's marked here. I find the third row on the back panel and connect it with the front panel here. And with the other side the same, the 10th stitch on the back panel, I connect with the front panel. I will sew from the center outward. I insert the hook through both panels. At the connection point, pull the yarn through and secure it with a double knot. I insert the hook again, make one chain here and work across this section with single crochets, catching the stitches of both panels. At the end, I secure the yarn and tie the tails. The same I will repeat on the other side. And now the sleeve. So find the middle stitch of the sleeve here. For me it's 23rd because I have 45 stitches of edging. Mark it and attach it directly to the shoulder seam. Now I have 22 stitches on each side of the sleeve, so I count 22 stitches on the front panel and attach 22nd to the edge of the sleeve. And repeat the same with the back. Find the 22nd stitch and connect it to the edge of the sleeve. So we are going to sew the whole side with the one long seam. We will start at the bottom here, go up to the armhole, sew the sleeve to the front and the back panels, and then continue down the length of the sleeve itself without cutting the yarn. If your back panel is longer, for example mine is 2 stitches longer than the front panel, just align them with necessary offset. We will be joining using slip stitches through the outer loops of the stitches. So I insert the hook into one loop, then the other, and pull the yarn through all loops on the hook. And I just continue like that to the first marker. When I reach the sleeve, I continue the same way, now connecting the sleeve and the front panel. So I'm at this middle stitch right now, so I connect it right to the seam. Just find one gap where you can insert the hook and join it together. And then just move to the back panel, continue to join the sleeve to the panel as before. And I'm finished with panels, and I move to the sleeve itself. I just start with first stitches on both sides. join them together, and you just continue like that to the end. At the end, as usual, I cut the yarn and secure it. This side is ready. And finally, don't forget to leave an armhole on the other side. I decided to leave here 22 stitches on the front and on the back panel, so I just joined 23rd stitches together and just sew all the stitches under this marker together. And here will be our armhole. Now let's quickly do the edging. We're going to create this distressed look. I've already finished the front, so let's do the back together. When I worked on the front, I started from this long edge, joined the yarn there, and moved in that direction. For the back, I'm starting from the short edge instead, so I'll attach the yarn right here. We will be working on the wrong side, and I'm just going to move along with slip stitches like this. I will work a few, and now in the spots where I want to place these drooping threads, I chain one, and then I pull out the second chain loop to stretch it. I make another chain to secure it, and then I join back with a slip stitch so that these threads sag slightly. This is how it looks. Continue like this all along the edge. You can adjust the size and number of these loops however you like. And with that, the sweater is finally finished. Tag me when you've crocheted yours. My socials are in the description.